I found a super cool new way to learn the Koussevitzky Concerto. What's going on? It's Jason Heath, and for the past few months, String Virtuoso has invited me behind the scenes to check out what they've got going on. This is an exciting new offering by the double bass community. There's so many people involved. It's just incredible. New content's coming out all the time. I've been thinking about how to dig into this content here on the channel. I decided to take one piece, the Koussevitzky Concerto today, by an editor that I really admire, Dominik Wagner. And by the way, we did a video on Dominik talking about his career and playing some fantastic Andres Martin music. We will link up to that here, so definitely check that out. But Dominik is such a fantastic performer and such a fantastic mind on the double bass. I thought that would be a great place to start. So let's dig into this content from Dominik Wagner and String Virtuoso. All right, here we are at the bass with this edition by Dominik Wagner. I have tuned my bass up to solo tuning. I have done this throughout the years. I don't necessarily advise this. These are orchestra strings. I have jacked up the top three strings. So they're now A, E, B. And one thing I do like is my low string. I have this extra low B. So I now have A, E, B, and low B. Come on, that's kind of fun. I've heard various things about whether that's good for your strings. It's probably not great for your strings, or whether it's bad for your strings. I think there's some debate. I don't generally recommend it, but I do it in a pinch. And every time I play with my European friends and I'm on bass that doesn't have solo tuning, I find myself doing this. So it does produce a little extra tension in terms of string tension, so that just sort of is what it is, but it's so crazy to try to play in orchestra strings and Dominik's in solo tuning. But one of the great things that String Virtuoso does is it actually has both the solo bass part, solo tuning, and the orchestra tuning. So here's the orchestra tuning, and I have this scanned into this very cool app called Music, so I can actually play along with it. Now that's going to sound super weird because I'm a whole step higher now. But we'll go to Dominik's version. And so another great thing is that it comes with Dominik's markings, but if you want, you can also check out a clean part. So if you want to get your own markings in here, you can do that. But I thought I would go through and look at what Dominik does. He's such a fantastic bass player. Let me see what I can learn. So I've got his video up here, his first video in Koussevitzky, and we'll just watch and learn a little bit.
Hello, my name is Dominik Wagner, and welcome to my lessons on Koussevitzky's double bass concerto. First, I want to talk a bit about the cadenza.
Okay, so right there, that sound, that's part of why I had to tune up, because it just doesn't make any sense. So just that sound he gets. I don't know how many hours I've talked with students about this first note and worked on it myself, and Dominik, he just gets this nice pull on the note right from the beginning, and it's just really cool. Okay, so one thing, I love the pacing that he has here. He is taking his time, and that's something I think I have rushed through this far too often in my life, so I just love it. He's just sitting every note. See, even right there, I'm rushing. He just takes a little more time than me. And I just love that sound he gets. He's just moving through it. And then I like the very end. He just kind of moves through that very end a little bit faster than I do. And he does it all in one bow. I frequently break that into two bows, but I really like the phrasing he has there. So let's keep going.
So the most common mistakes I see here are already happening in that first note. Some people go like...
That's me.
So what is the obvious mistake? I think for the first note, since it's such a dramatic, such a highly emotional entrance, we need to get as much sound as possible, so we should use the whole bow. The second big mistake with people that use the whole bow is the accent takes often this much amount of the bow.
That's something that I noticed. Yeah, he's just very he's getting the accent, but it's only taking the first little bit, and then he's getting that wonderful sound.
Second on, the bow has a really nice grip, so
Yeah.
But then we also need to decide what happens with the first note. It needs to have a good start. Now we've talked a bit about that. But then I think mentally, even though you start really loud, really highly emotional already, it should still kind of get even more until you get to the C. So
Yeah. Here's the high point.
Instead, so actually you should think like almost like a crescendo until the C, even though it's already so loud. But just to keep the intensity and to make it maybe.
Yeah, I think that's super important. That's something that I think that a lot of people come out of the gate strong with the first one, and then it's just kind of like, it's the same thing, but trying to go to that C. Right there. Looks like I got a lesson with Dominik. Thank you, Dominik.
Maybe even a little bit more. So now we have all those 8 notes. What are we going to do with them? I think it's important to not just play in tempo. Like sometimes you hear people which is obviously that's not very musical. So what happens? It's something that I generally use for so many cadenzas, for all, like you can use it in bottesine with all those big figures. You first get faster, so in the end you can take some time. So you win some time with the time that you get.
So pulling the tempo, taking and giving.
Take some to show that there's something even more important happening. So often, if you have, for example, if you want to show that this note, the end note, like for example this is like kind of a go.
Sounds great.
In the first run. So how do we show that this is a go? If you're already like total fortissimo, we take some time. So that's why you need to get faster in the beginning. So and then faster.
Yeah, so it's like a rubber band kind of. He's taking time and giving time, and so you move it here so you can pull it there so that it all kind of comes out in the end. So it's great.
Because here we're already so loud, we cannot become even louder, and to show that it is still more, take the time. It's like when you talk and then you stop almost to show that this is the main point.
That's a good analogy. He's very eloquent with the way he's describing this. But yeah, that's the way you would declaim something, isn't it? That's very cool.
And that's what we do again when we go up. So we get faster at the beginning. And then we take time again. And then we still need to think about how are we going to end the cadenza. Often people do, they just go back, totally lose the energy.
Yeah, that's what I do oftentimes.
Seems kind of weak since the orchestra comes in with, or the piano, depending on what you play with big forte again. So I think it's important to keep the intensity.
It's amazing that he can do that in one bow.
Some people use this bowing. The danger with that is that you then tend to be even louder on the F sharp. So sometimes it sounds like.
Yeah, that's a
Which
good point.
Against,
I feel like I should have the discipline to be able to do that. So. Yeah, well, you see, I'm using way too much bow on that beat. Oh, I wish I had that extra little bit of German bow there. That'd make it easier.
not really so tasteful. So if you use that bowing, be really careful that you don't get louder on the F sharp. Just keep the intensity.
So we've already gotten 5 minutes just on the first phrase of the cadenza. And I never even, it is a cadenza, isn't it? I don't know why I never think to call this a cadenza, maybe because it comes at the beginning, but it's just so cool to get this. And also the markings in this edition by Dominik, to hear him talk about it and demonstrate it, and then to have it here on the page, I think is super interesting and useful. And I like how clean the part is. You just have the fingerings that you need. We've got these shifting indications right here, what string it's on. So it's not cluttered, but it has the information that you want to just be able to navigate the piece the way Dominik does.
We use the whole bow, we don't waste any of it, and we also continue to the higher note. So in this case, the D. So absolutely, we keep the energy, and this is the goal. And then we do the same thing that we did earlier, with the getting faster and then taking some time.
So the same idea of pushing and pulling. And this is the beauty of having this all combined, video tutorial section as well as the sheet music and all of this, just because you can have that sound in your ear, and that pacing that Dominik has. That, you know, I'm going to be listening to that. And of course, I'm not getting it at all, but just that elegance that he has getting into that high D, it's magnificent. And having a model like that when you're working on a piece like this is so valuable. Okay, this is all fantastic. I'm going to skip ahead a little bit to part 4 of the tutorial to get into everybody's favorite passage that they love to fear, or whatever the terminology you want. That's the 16th note double stops. That in this part is measure 128. So the video starts just a couple notes before that. So let's check out Dominik. Ooh, I like that. That's very cool. What did he do there? So he's like a... Ooh, that's nice. And that's marked in the part right there, getting into 126. Very cool.
And then we start. So here, don't start too loud. Don't start like...
That's a great point. I think that this is a spot people are so excited to get to this point, and they just go, you know, full force, and you still got like half a page, and you're just going to be, first of all, well, maybe not first of all, but physically, you're going to be toast if you go completely all out. Also, just like musically, it's good. Like what he's saying, don't give it your all at the beginning.
Because here it's again a build-up.
Yeah, it's a build-up.
Step 1.
Step 2 now.
Step 2. Step 3 and step 4.
So he plays them fairly on the string, which I think is helpful for playing with an orchestra, just to have the projection. And yeah, I love of course, I'm not doing the build-up at all that he's talking about, but that's a great way to think of it. Step 1, step 2, and then step 3 and step 4.
The big trick is to avoid unnecessary movement in shifts. So what I think is the most important part is the thumb and the first finger. They stay stable. So first you practice.
Yep, so that's great advice. So just taking that right there, having your foundation stable, and then 2 and 3 are just icing on the cake. Trying to get that developed and get that solid, and then building everything else onto it will come much more easily.
And then you just put this in the end. If that's not stable, nothing will work. And don't do any like during the shift. No like.
Yeah, it's I like his demonstration.
Maybe something like that. No, both fingers stay on the string. Both fingers stay stable. Nothing changes here. They just slide up and. Okay, the third finger does whatever he does, or if you do the second, whatever. That's the easy part. This you can hit, but if this. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah, getting the foundation. It's all about that.
Because then also this will also be out of tune. So make sure this stays.
Also, just seeing where he's placing the bow, just that fantastic sound he's getting. Having that visual model on the video, and then that aural model, you know, for your ears, and just being able to hear his sound and try to duplicate and live inside of that sound. It's very helpful, and that's one of the wonderful things about a format like this.
This will not start half a note up, and then you just start the thumb. The first finger just stays. Don't move the first finger now. Just. That's the biggest mistake. People think, oh, to move everything now.
Yep, all you gotta do is let that thumb go.
That's all that happens. It's the most important thing here. Don't do unnecessary movements. So now we'll play or continues a little bit slower. So you can see the fingers. Oh,
that sound that he gets. It's so fantastic, and wow, yeah, just sort of being able to see that and see that in this relaxed way that he plays, just what a cool model. So that's just a peek inside of this. There are 10 parts to this and 3 movements, and this is just a little bit of the first movement, but I am really enjoying learning in this way, and I am digging String Virtuoso, and I can't wait to dig into the rest of the piece and all the other things that are available from Dominik and from everybody else in this site. That's a look at a new way that I've been working on the Koussevitzky Concerto, and I love this sort of virtual lesson, this mentorship that you can get through String Virtuoso with Dominik Wagner. Highly recommended. Links to everything that they're up to in the description below. If you enjoyed this video, check out this next one. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.